Got you.
But all right, yeah, we can get into this and then I can
Hit it
get
and
ready
quit
or
it,
whatever.
as the kids
Yeah,
say.
for sure.
Do the kids still say that? I don't know. I work with a 25-year-old and I'm always like, do the kids still say it's lit or whatever? It's like, I haven't heard that one in a while. And I'm like, oh, all right.
All
Thanks for
right.
being honest with me. I was really getting made fun of for not knowing what a glizzy was.
I have no idea
I,
what that is.
I think, yeah, definitely a hot dog,
Okay.
but
What
I,
why?
I think that it's probably also, you know, a derogatory term, and you're not just supposed to be saying it
It,
like in public because I
it
was saying
sounds
it.
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
definitely sounds like a dirty one.
You can find the information on the internet. It's slang all day. So
So you
so
saw the part about it being a gun that went to a hot dog?
oh, see, I don't know. I still don't know.
Oh, so I looked it up. Yeah, I just looked it up while you were talking. It says with roots in the rap world, a glizzy is slang for a Glock handgun. The
Oh,
evolution
okay.
of the word to include hot dog comes from the extended magazine of a pistol, which is about the length of a hot dog.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
I don't know. I'm honestly, I feel like I've only proven to myself that I'm not authorized uh to say these things. I was told him when I was on the night shift, I used to go fishing after I got off of work.
Hmm.
He's like, "Oh, that sounds perfect." And I was like, "Yeah," or sometimes I'd catch a matinee. And he's like, "I've never heard the word matinee in my life." I was like, "Oh,
But
Jesus
but that's
Christ."
not even like slang. That's just a word.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
holy shit. They still
He
have
doesn't know what a
matinees.
matinee is. Yeah.
Like,
It was funny.
wow, that's
So
crazy.
yeah, we're having a lot of fun. It's fun. He's a good sport. He's a funny guy, so I'm having a lot of fun just kind of uh, you know, pretending to be a really old man, like 12 years older than him, but I'm acting like I'm 35 years older than
Yeah.
him because it's fun for me.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I lease that bar? Can I lease that bar? Can I lease that bar?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Great, dude. I'm gonna have to start doing fantasy t-ball and coach
Oh,
pitch the way my life is going this summer.
there
It's
we go.
pretty good. I can tell you want, well, it's hard. Defensive players feel like they're the way to go in the
Okay,
in the
not a
middle
lot
of
of O going on in the coach
yeah.
pitch. Okay,
No, no, that's a little, yeah. If you got a good first baseman, it's pretty much no one's getting on base. So,
gotcha.
what about you, Christian? How are you, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm exhausted. I made my final trip across the state here, or
Ooh,
the United States here. Drove from Oregon to Indianapolis. Got back yesterday, unpacking and stuff. Had a final, so I'm a little busy. My notes
jeez.
this week maybe not as juicy as normal, so apologize to the listeners for that. If you think I'm coming with weak sauce, I'll be back next week with better stuff. But we are here weekly as we have been for like 4 years, so
We don't stop.
we don't stop, can't stop, won't stop. Miley Cyrus. On that note, so last week, if you were with us, we were talking about guys going into their third season and a little bit of overvalued, undervalued. We're going to hit that again, but with guys going into their second season. So obviously, these would be the rookie class of 2023 going into their second season, 2024. We're not going to do the sleepers and the busts because it's a little too early to tell. I suppose we could do sleepers, but we're actually going to go with surprises and disappointing rookie seasons for these guys. So should be pretty interesting here. On with all that being said, sorry, do you want to get us started with some second year guys that you think are overvalued?
Overvalued. Oh man, yes, I do. These are my hot ones. So,
Hmm.
I'm going with Tank Dell.
Okay, gotcha.
Hopefully nobody I get a lot I've had a lot of conversations about Tank Dell, and I think he's a really good wide receiver. Okay.
Hmm.
but I'd like to you guys to know he's going at wide receiver 22 on the old keep trade cut. And he's got teammates Nico Collins at 17, Stephon Diggs at 41, which that's a whole separate
That's a
conversation.
misnomer.
Right. So those two guys are combining for $50 million in compensation. So I'm kind of just following the money on this one.
Mm.
We know Tank Dell was electric last year.
Oh
He
yeah.
was really impressive.
Hmm.
Um, he had 75 targets in 10 games. That puts him at about 130 target pace for a full season. And I just don't see that happening again. We know Stephon Diggs, he wants to win first
Hmm.
and he wants to eat second. And boom, that's the end of his list. Like he needs to be fed
Hmm.
or he's going to get, you know what you get with Stephon, dude. If you're not giving him the ball, you better be winning every single game because if not, something's going to happen. So they're going to try to keep Stephon happy. So um, I just think that the volume just won't be sustainable to support the wide receiver 22. Um, and there was some lack of consistency in his games last year. He had 6 really phenomenal games, but 4 of his games he didn't have the 7 or more targets that he had in his blow up games. In those games, he had 3 or 4 targets, and his scoring went 6.5 points, 3 points, eight and a
Hmm.
half points, 6 points. And those are kind of bust weeks if you're hoping for, a guy in the wide receiver 2 range. So I'm kind of taking that into consideration. But I mean, really, here's the deal. Nico's 17 and Tank Dell's 22.
Hmm.
So looking at the keep trade cut top 25 wide receiver rankings, there are 6 teams that have 2 players on that top 25. And it's Seattle, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Chicago, Miami, and Houston. So I don't know. Houston kind of scares me on that, but if you think about it, that means there's 13 teams that have one guy, 6
Hmm.
teams that have 2 guys. That's you're 25. That means there's 13 teams that don't have anyone in the top 25. And I'm just kind of taking the field over Tank Dell on this one.
Mm.
I think he's got great long-term value, but I think he's overvalued at the wide receiver 22 at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of toyed with him being in the overvalued slot. I actually didn't mind though when he was like one of the first names that popped in my head. And then when I kind of looked, I didn't mind where he's probably a little overvalued still. I did sneak him into the show under the surprises category just because like
Okay.
he was a guy that we liked on film, or at least I know that I liked him. But then like the combine came out and you and I, it's like 5'8", 165 guy going to Houston with a rookie quarterback. And we kind of just I don't know. At least I wrote it pretty much off as like a factor. And he was the wide receiver 19 in points per game for
Sure.
what it's worth. And I do think you're right though. There's too many guys there with Stephon Diggs coming in. Maybe he can kind of explode out after if Stephon Diggs only sticks around for a year or two. But the things we were worried about with him was the size, and he went out for an injury, which is kind of exactly what we were worried about. And so I'm with you, like taking the field makes sense on Tank Dell, but it was surprising and nice to see a kid that like we kind of liked, but just thought factors would rule him out, but he ended up kind of popping still, which is fun. But I'm with you. I think the odds are that he's not consistently in that 20 range at least, and especially not this season with Diggs in town.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to have some great games, but he was having 10, 14 target games
Hmm.
last year to support that kind of breakout he had. And
It's just
yeah.
not gonna happen.
Mhm.
So I'll keep it in Houston, and we want to talk about spicy.
Whoa.
I look, all right. Caveat
Uh-oh.
here. In a super flex, do whatever you want. Go for it. But in a single QB league, CJ Stroud's value has gotten bananas ridiculous. I'm sorry. His keep trade cut value is a 7,000 right now. That's Chris Olave, Drake London, Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, and early 2025 first, Jonathan Taylor, and like Anthony Richardson plus. This is a single QB league though. Like I'm sorry, I would take all those players over CJ Stroud right now. Well, Richardson plus, that's where you're getting into like pick your poison territory with these rookie quarterbacks. But like, then are you paying would you trade the 102 next year for CJ Stroud if you knew it was going to be the
No,
102? Like, no
no.
way. No way. Not in a single QB league. And his ADP in single QB leagues is the QB 4.5 because he's like tied with Lamar Jackson, an ADP of 440, but that's before Joe Burrow, before Justin Herbert, and then again, in a pick your poison group, before Richardson, before Love, before Kyler Murray, before Brock Purdy. That's to me where he should be, is like in that group. And if you want to put him at the head of that group, all fine. Like I get that. He was electric last year. He was the QB 11, QB 10 in points per game. That's awesome. He doesn't have the rushing upside of some of these other guys, like Anthony Richardson including. But like even Love had more yards than and touchdowns than him, and Purdy was not far behind him in rushing yards. So that's kind of right where he is. And why do I keep bringing up Love and Purdy? Because everyone's freaking out about CJ Stroud being the QB 11 last year. Jordan Love was ostensibly a rookie, but first year as a starter, and he was the QB 5, and his value is not anywhere near this. Brock Purdy, first season as a starter, QB 6, value nowhere near this. Like, so I get it. I get why we're excited about Stroud. I just think he needs to be reeled back down into that territory where those guys are. And again, if you want to put him above them and even a little significantly above them, but we're talking like leaps and bounds for a guy that like all these guys are under 25. And that for a QB, that's, you got 10 plus years at under 25. So you got a full career left. And when you're looking at Stroud, he had 6 games over 20 points out of 13, which is awesome, but only 2 of those games were over 25. And so it's not like he was some and I get it. We're expecting him to get better. The addition of Diggs, this offense is going to be crazy. And I understand all that, and I'm behind it. I love Stroud. I think he's an awesome player. I just think if you could get Tyreek Hill for CJ Stroud straight up, you do that. A
Right.
100 times out of 100, and it's in a single QB league because you can find a guy who can get you 18 points. You're not going to find a Tyreek Hill, not often anyway. And so that's just where I'm at with him. Like it's not, and again, in a super flex, do your thing, spend whatever you want to go get this kid. He's going to be awesome. But I just think we need to reel it back in a little bit for these single QB leagues. That's like, I mean, look, he's at the same value of Lamar, but Lamar's a
Mhm.
two-time MVP and a fantasy QB1 before. You know what I mean? He's older. I get it. He's older. He gets hurt. So there's some stuff there, but I don't know. Tell me I'm crazy.
Mm. No, no, no. I think you're not crazy. It's hard for me with CJ Stroud because I really like him,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it's like the single QB-ness of it all. I mean, it dilutes the position so much that you
Hmm.
shouldn't ever be trading startable other positions for a quarterback.
Mm-mm.
Not when you can have, whatever Kirk Cousins or something
Yeah.
just limp you through while you have, your draft capital, your value all goes towards, your RBs and like having Tyreek, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's much preferred. I still I still get a little bit of trash talk every now and again about taking Gibbs over Stroud last year, and
Mm.
that was a super flex league. So who knows
Oh,
where that will end?
Gibbs is gonna make you look good. I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I'm
Gibbs is
happy.
gonna
I
be
won the
awesome.
championship,
Yeah.
so
So who fuck him?
whatevs. But no, that's a good one, man. Keeping it in Houston. Well, I'm gonna get in another wide receiver, and I don't
Okay.
know what's wrong with me. I keep doing this. It's pretty much a Tank Dell story all over again, but not really. It's Zay Flowers. Okay.
Ooh. Oh no.
Yeah.
My
Shots
heart.
fired, right?
My
Yeah. And
heart.
these rankings move so fast. He's wide receiver 21 today.
Mm.
Yesterday was wide receiver 20. They must have seen this coming. They knocked his value down a little bit. Um, but it is what it is, man. It's Baltimore. He
Hmm.
finishes the wide receiver 31 last year with 108 targets, and that was in a 10 game Mark Andrews season.
Mm.
So you have to imagine that changes a little bit. And now Derrick Henry is on this team, right? So
Yeah.
some stuff is going to go on. So I'm just not convinced that he's going to get the type of work needed to be like top 20 range wide receiver, probably ever. I know that maybe he'll be the wide receiver 31 for like the next 6 years and maybe currently that gives him a value as a top 20 wide receiver, but I don't think he's actually going to perform at that level. Because the only other guys that are getting that target range that are hitting those high end performances are like there's Nico Collins and Brandon Ayuk, and those guys both had like 16 or 18 yards per catch, whereas Zay Flowers is over here knocking down 11, which is pretty much what you're going to get with the Lamar Jackson play style. And that's exactly what they want out
Mhm.
of Zay Flowers. He's never going to probably get any of that deep work. So I don't think he can hang with those guys that are performing at that level. And then there's Zebo Samuels, who had 5 rushing touchdowns, and we all know the story with Debo. He's not really comparable for your basic,
Mhm.
wide receiver one, which, we still have had conversations about if Zay Flowers would be that if there was a better, a more traditional option
Mhm.
in this offense. So for that reason, I'm a little bit on the overvalued side. He got out targeted in the red zone by Mark Andrews last year, even though
Mhm.
Andrews only played the 10 games. And then, in the previous season, he was he was like 16th in red zone targets in the whole league. And then you've got Derrick Henry. This is going to be mopping up red zone opportunities all the way.
Mhm.
Gus Edwards was top 10 in red zone carries last year. So it's just like the red zone is kind of locked up and not really a thing for Zay to be jumping in on. I think he's badass and he's easy to cheer for. I know we like him quite a bit, but I just don't think like Lamar is supporting a high end receiving option when the rest of the team is built the way it is. So it's just a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. I mean, I like Zay Flowers a lot, so maybe I'm just leaning a little more positive. But you're right. I mean, they're going to run the ball a lot, and he probably, I think, to me, I think he's kind of valued, maybe a little overvalued, but to me, he's a 20s receiver. Like, I think that's where he would be, kind of in the mid 20s. Just because, like, I do think there's a chance that all of the rushing does kind of open up more of this passing game for them. I know they're not going to pass a lot, but like they could be more effective and it could open up some more lanes for him to kind of use that run after the catch ability that he does have. And I could see like the numbers going up, and then maybe he doesn't have 108 targets, but I could see maybe his efficiency going up in terms of like how many he catches or whatever. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think he's not gonna lead your team typically. I think he's a good value to have and like a flex play for sure. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, so like I do think he's maybe a little overvalued just
Yeah.
being a young wide receiver and kind of getting that bump. Because I don't think he'll be a one really ever, but I do think he could have a couple seasons as a two. But you're probably right. That's just me wish casting a guy I liked a lot,
What's this
just for the
tough?
fit.
I mean, yeah. Like, do you suspect like he's going 3 spots or 4 spots ahead of George Pickens, who's at the
Yeah,
wide
see,
receiver 25?
Pickens, I would rather have Pickens for sure.
Yeah.
The upside on Pickens is better than Flowers.
I mean, you got Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, and then T.
I'd
Higgins.
rather
So
have
that's
Addison.
yeah. Higgins, I still would rather have Higgins. Sorry, I know we can talk about that offline.
Well, I'll
Um,
have Higgins until he's on whatever doo-doo team he's going to go to after the Bengals.
but yeah, because for passing efficiency, it could be worse. Could be worse than the Bengals or the Ravens. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
But I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. Let's get into my last overvalued guy. I'm gonna go to the running back room, and I'm gonna go with Devon Achan is overvalued in my opinion. 6,394. It's around Travis Etienne, Michael Pittman. It's ahead of Brock Bowers. It's ahead of DJ Moore. It's
Oh,
ahead of Saquon Barkley,
yikes.
which I get the dynasty aspect there. 80 ADP of 25. He's the RB9, which I honestly that was what made him put him on this list at first. But honestly, if you look at the state of the RB position as a whole, RB9 isn't that crazy for him. Like I get maybe like I wouldn't take him as the ninth RB, but like I absolutely see why people are taking him instead of the guys that are going after that. Because you're looking at like Pacheco and Barkley and like some of these other guys. Um, but I just still think he has this absurd, unsustainable production rate that like is just never ever going to translate again. Like he had 130 touches, 997 all-purpose yards. That's 7.6 yards per touch and 11 touchdowns. So the man was scoring on 8% of the time he touched the ball, which is just that's absurd. It's an absurd thing. And then he's already been injured. But here's what I really like. This is what I'm really leaning into. Mike McDaniel was quoted during OTAs about the running back room. This is what he said. I think I, excuse me, I think that I have literally spent zero time trying to forecast that room because I recognize supreme competition when I see it. And the great news is, instead of saying what I believe or forecast, I get to just watch and allow these players determine all of that for us. So I don't think he's going to go with the hot hand. And like, can Jalen Wright not do what Devon Achane does? They ran the same 40 time. He's a little bit bigger, or not the same 40 time, but like he ran a 4.3, so it's not like he's slow. Like if somebody starts popping, he's a little bit bigger than him. Like maybe he's a little less injury sustainable. And then like Raheem Mostert's got to be on the way out at some point, getting older. Like I just think this room is a little muddier than a guy that you want more than DJ Moore. Like I don't that's insane to me. Brock Bowers even like I just don't think I think Achan is this crazy exciting player and can pop for you, but I don't know that he'll be sustainable or consistent for you, given like if that's the way Mike McDaniel sees that room, then it really is wide open.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jalen Wright of it all kind of just muddles everything
Hmm.
because I mean there might have been a world where A Chain was going to be the featured back there, but I mean that we've never seen that. We've
Hmm.
always been waiting for, Miami to pick up like a vet that's already done it because that's the only real way you get a defined, answer to what's coming out of that room because it's so random.
Hmm.
Everything that happens there is it's fairly unpredictable. So whatever works is what's going to happen, and it might not be A Chain. It might be he gets a couple of looks every week because they need him to blow up. But like you're saying, I don't think he's getting that consistent workload at that kind of high efficiency that he was producing last year. It's unreasonable to really predict that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he's a great player, obviously. But yeah, I just think if you could sell him for that value right now, pretty much any of
Oh,
those players
sure.
that I named, I would
Yeah.
have sold him for. Like maybe Michael Pittman. I would do Michael Pittman, but I know I'm higher on Michael Pittman than like say you are. And I get the upside of Achane because if he does somehow keep up this production rate, like holy cow, but just doesn't seem very likely to me. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I like Michael Pittman, the player. I just don't like Michael Pittman, the,
The
Indianapolis wide
fantasy.
receiver.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fair. Do you want to hit us with some undervalued?
Undervalued. Yeah, this one was weird, kind of strange, kind of fun. I got a little deep on those overvalued guys because I had some things to say, but I'll kick it off with Marvin Mims.
Okay.
So I'm calling him undervalued for a couple of different reasons. First of all, the Jerry Judy trade.
Hmm.
Okay. Like they did that well before they knew that they were going to get some kind of, Troy Franklin tumbling down the draft boards kind of
Hmm.
lucky thing. So they had a plan in place before the draft that had to have included Mims. That was the first draft pick that Sean Payton regime had going into last year. And the depth chart here, we already know like maybe Troy Franklin's going to be awesome, but Cortland Sutton has his own question marks. I
Mm.
have my doubts about him being like a true alpha. So for a guy going off at wide receiver 68, I think there's an opportunity for him to be on the field quite a bit.
Hmm.
We talked about it when we were talking about Greg Dolchik. There's not a ton of offensive power here, and I just look for him to step up, step into a big role and I don't know, have some success basically.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
could
like
definitely see that. I'm not as big on Sean Payton as
sure.
not these days. So like I I just think I don't know. I'm not as into the offense. I don't know how that's all going to work. And then I mean, I know Bo Nix has a decent arm, but like Marvin Mims is really that deep guy. But I do
Mhm.
hear you, like, given the value that, or like at least the position on the offense, I'm about to literally talk about a guy. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it's just he is the number two there unless one of these rookies shows up. So, like, or unless Troy Franklin takes that job from him. So, from a volume perspective, he's way undervalued. Like there's a few guys that slip because like yeah, maybe they're not the most high end number twos or like whatever, but they're still going to get a lot of work. It's the same reason like I was in on Jaden Reed with the Packers last year. It's the same reason I like Roman Wilson with the Steelers this year. Like
Right.
it's not yeah, okay, maybe they're not the flashiest name, but that spot is going to get work. And if they produce, then now you're talking about a guy who you got way later or on the cheap that is producing like a guy and like maybe he doesn't produce like that forever, but for this year for sure. Like and so yeah, I like where your head's at with that. Not all in on the Broncos offense, so I don't want
Yeah,
a part of it. But I'm
still
with
an
you.
NFL offense. I kind
Oh
of
yeah.
always pick like one of those weak teams, as long as it's not Carolina, to go all in on. Is
That's
it?
fair.
Yeah, they've got a history.
Well, I'll take like I said, I'll get into my wide receivers. Kind of the same thing. Wide receiver two with potentially a lot of work coming his way. It's Michael Wilson. We're talking about uh a keep trade cut value of like a mid third, Josh Palmer, Keaton Mitchell, like ADP of 149, wide receiver 67. It's behind Mims. It's behind Mike Williams. And I mean, he had 58 targets last season, which was third on the team, but both the guys that were in front of him are gone in Hollywood Brown and Rondale Moore. So, and I get Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming in there, and he's obviously the clear number one. And then Trey McBride's going to take a lot of work, but there's going to be like, I could absolutely see Michael Wilson getting 70, 80 targets this season as the number two guy in a Kyler Murray led offense. And for that very reason, like I would rather have him. I mean, Josh Palmer is an interesting name just because we have no idea what the Chargers are going to do, but I think I'd rather have him than Mike Williams in a dynasty league. I'd rather have him than a third round pick necessarily. And like I just think there's a chance for him to kind of pop for this year. And the good thing about these guys that maybe you're not super in on that pop for one season, like now you get to use them for that season and then you can try to trade them at the end if you're not super in on them. So identifying these pop seasons for these guys because they all have them. Like we've talked about all kinds of guys that just disappear after having a great season. And if you can kind of maybe buy guys on the low that you're not super into, sell them on the high after 1 year of a pop, I think Michael Wilson, and I'm not even saying I'm not in on Michael Wilson, but I think that's like a good target for that kind of thing this year.
Yeah, no, I got it. I've got him on the surprise.
Okay.
I don't
Nice.
know. For some reason, I was shocked at the success he had last year. I think you're 100% right. What do you got him at? I've got keep trade cut wide receiver 70. Is that right?
I had 67, but that was the fantasy football or like fantasy pros dynasty ADP. Keep
Gotcha.
trade cut. I have his value at 2,380,
Okay.
but that's
Yeah.
just around a third of Josh Palmer and Keaton Mitchell is what I had it.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Greg Dortch, that's great. Actually love the backups that our lads is throwing out. They got Zay Jones and Zach Pascal. And like,
Hell yeah.
my love for those guys will never I guess it'll always exist, but yeah, I mean it's wide open, right? And Marvin Jones or Marvin Harrison,
Mhm.
the different Marvin Jr. Um, he'll definitely be throwing the decoys. So the opportunity for him to get out there and smash is just wide open. So
Mhm.
I think it's sustainable. Like you're getting possibly like a serviceable wide receiver three or whatever,
Mhm.
top 30 with pop weeks or however the targets fall in the red zone. For that value, I mean it's impossible to pass on really. So
Yeah.
with you.
Cool, cool.
With you.
You got another
So
guy for us?
yeah, undervalued. I had too much fun. I had too much fun. That's pretty much what I'm always up to. I'm going with Will Levis.
Mm. Okay.
Yay. Yeah, so he's going off at quarterback 21 on the keep trade cut list. And I don't know, dude. I'm in on this guy. I don't know
Nice.
why. You got Hopkins, right? He's coming off of
Hmm.
137 targets. And then the second wide receiver in targets on the team last year was Nick Westbrook Akina with
Oof.
with 45. So then now you got Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd here.
Mm.
And I mean,
Drastically
it's
better room.
yeah, like it's and Hopkins is still here. Then they go, with JC Latham in the first, so he's got better protection. He
Hmm.
was definitely pretty heavily pressured. Didn't really have the best security or decision making. It was a little frantic to watch him, but he did come out with a 4 touchdown game. That was insane. He didn't keep it up, but I think that seeing Derrick Henry in Baltimore, it's going to keep this team out of the run first kind of arena, especially when you have
Hmm.
a wide receiver room like that. And I don't know. I think he's got the potential to have multiple quarterback 1 weeks this year. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. So I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I'm not pulling for him, but like just with the Brian Callahan factor, the Bengals OC kind of
Hmm.
like, you get this guy in there and he didn't rush hardly at all. Like he under 50 yards scrambling last year. But the guy is 6'4",
Yeah.
245 or whatever.
Hmm.
He's built like in Kentucky, he was definitely an aggressive,
Yeah.
almost dual threat
Hmm.
player. And I remember watching the combine and watching him like light it up, dude. I loved his like his whole persona, and I thought he had a really nice arm. So I think he was just kind of dealt a crap hand last year, and they have done some major things from the coaching all the way to the supporting characters to get this in better shape for him. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up just riding Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins to like multiple good outings that get him up towards the QB1 on the end of the year, man. If he ended up QB 14 or something, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Even the two running backs out of the backfield work
Yeah.
really well in the passing game. So like he's gonna have all kinds of opportunities, and I thought he looked serviceable last year. And like
Yeah.
you're right, like he's got a
Little
better line.
spooked.
Like he maybe he's not amazing, but neither was Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill was a serviceable fantasy quarterback for a while when they had a functioning offense. And I think they could be pretty decent this year. And kind of yeah, I think he's gonna surprise some people. I have him in our super flex league, and I'm kind of excited to like see how that goes. So on that note, I'm gonna keep it in Tennessee, and you guys are still. I told you last year, all year, that you were undervaluing Tajay Spears, and you're
Oh.
still undervaluing Tajay Spears. What? Because Tony Pollard came to town, we want to drop Tajay Spears' value, and you know what? Actually, his keep trade cut value is not terrible. An early second, like around an early second. Derrick Henry is the same value. Stephon Diggs, Christian Watson, like that's okay. All right, fair. But his ADP is 95, but he's the RB 27. We're taking Javonte Williams over him. We're taking Zamir White over him, apparently. We're taking David Montgomery over him, apparently. We're taking Tony Pollard, the aforementioned, before him. We're taking Trey Benson before him, a guy who's not even seen the field. We're taking Alvin Kamara, an older guy. I get that if you want to win now, but Dynasty here. Najee, Joe Mixon, like all these guys in the state of the
Wow.
running back room, we're going to take before Tajay Spears, a guy who looked absolutely electric and explosive last year, 4.5 yards per carry. He had 70 targets last year, and that was backing up Derrick Henry. Guys, like
Jesus.
it's not like all of a sudden he's going to lose all this playing time to Tony Pollard, a guy who disappointed for the most part last year. He also had 385 yards through the air. That's 7.4 per catch. So he's just averaging like he's really, really efficient with the ball in his hands. To me, I'm not worried about Tony Pollard at all coming over. I think the running game is still going to be featured, maybe not as heavy as Derrick Henry, as you pointed out, but I don't see Will Levis slinging it 40 to 50 times a game either. It's going to be kind of in that middle ground, I think. Maybe 40 would be the high end. And yeah, Tajay Spears only averaged 4 points fewer than Tony Pollard did last season. And again, he was backing up Derrick Henry, guys. Like it's he wasn't getting the playing time that Tony Pollard was going. I think Tony Pollard took a step backwards. He's reaching the dreaded RB27 age. It made no sense to me in the first place why the Titans got Tony Pollard. Like I get maybe not wanting to have any sort of de-escalation in talent when Spears is off the field because you want the offensive structure. Okay, that's fine. But I think by the end of the year, Tajay Spears will be the clear RB1 in Tennessee, and people are going to regret taking all these backups in front of a guy that maybe doesn't have the longest career with his knee issues or whatever, but I think he could be awesome for the next couple seasons.
Oh, I saw this coming, man. Tajay. Yeah, what he had 70 targets, is that about right? I mean,
Yep.
that's insane. I mean, there's no reason that should have happened. Good for him. We'll see how it goes. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely undervalued. So bring him in, dude. You got to go mop him up. You just got to go take him
I
everywhere you can
should.
find him.
I traded him in our defensive player league for goddamn Austin Eckler trying to make a push. That
Oh
was
my God.
dumb.
Yeah. Well, that's before I was in the league, so I didn't get a chance
Oh
to
yeah,
talk.
you were. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
didn't see that. I made a push. I gave up. What did I give up? It was like a first and Tajay for a second and Eckler or something like that.
Oof.
At the time, it was like mid-season, so Eckler was still like scoring well. He didn't look great, but he was still scoring
Yeah.
well. And then he
Wow.
just cratered right after I did
That's
that.
that's rough, man. I remember 2 seasons ago when I traded Rashad White and a first for Eckler,
And then you won
and
the
then I won the
championship.
league. So
Yeah, must be nice.
you gotta do what you gotta do. So well, I know I've done a surprise. You've already done a surprise.
Yeah, with Tank Dell, and then yours was Michael Wilson, right?
Michael Wilson, yeah.
So
Should we
yeah,
just
you want
knock out our last remaining surprises?
yeah. You wanna hit us with yours?
Okay, all right. This is hard for me. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So I have like 5 different names, so I have to just pick one. I guess I'm going with Chase Brown.
Okay.
Okay. So he, Cincinnati running back, for those of us who aren't wholly aware of that, he came out of the fifth round and he had 44 carries for 179 yards and 14 catches for 156 yards and one total touchdown. That may not seem surprising, but he did this weird thing in week 14 where he was the RB10 and he had like a huge game
I
and
was
good
there.
passing work. You were there?
Yeah, I
You were
was
at
at
that
that. That
game?
was the Colts
Yeah.
Colts Bengals game. Yep, I was
Yeah.
there.
Dang, dude. Look at you. Well, so you know
I saw it
best.
firsthand. Yeah, he had like a
Yeah.
70-yard either run or
Just
catch for a touchdown.
catch and run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he exploded. And like, I know I was into him. AJ was really into Chase Brown. He
Hmm.
was super into him. So that was surprising for me. But I think going through this process, the thing that really is surprising me is that he's only 3 spots lower in the running back rankings on Keep
Hmm.
Trade Cut than Zach Moss. So that's freaking me out,
Yeah.
because Zach Moss did some good stuff last year. So, I mean, let's just say Chase Brown was the running back 63, and Zach Moss was the running back 31.
Hmm.
So, a little bit of a different flavor. We know that Moss hasn't ever been able to hold down, a number one spot, but he did his best to do it in select weeks when called to last year when Taylor was out. So, I don't know, man. I like Chase Brown. I was surprised that his number was this high, but I was also like, I mean, I was surprised by that one blow up game. So I'm
Hmm.
trying. This is just a struggle for me, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to talk about it. Um, so yeah, I like Zach Moss quite a bit as a runner, like
Hmm.
the RB1. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of that like mix in passing game work style that goes to Chase Brown
Hmm.
and long term. So Zach Moss on a 2 year, 8 million. And so I don't know, Chase Brown could be, groomed to be,
Yeah.
the future or whatever. So I don't know, man. I really like him and I think RB38 is worth the risk. It's just really weird that he's that close to Zach Moss at the
Yeah.
RB5. So apparently I'm not the only person with, projecting off a one game's performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was a combine darling too. He was one of
Oh,
those
for
guys
sure.
that absolutely exploded, crazy athletic, and I think people are just in on that. And like Zach Moss is cool. He's a good runner and everything, but he doesn't have the upside that Chase Brown has. And like you're saying, in a passing offense, I'd rather have the guy that has the passing work, kind of upside there. And so we'll see on a Chase Brown. I mean, definitely worth taking a stab at if you can grab him. I've not seen him open anywhere. Obviously, dynasty leagues that would be tough to come by, but yeah, trading something for him would make sense. You know that
You
I
could
don't
trade
know.
Nick Chubb for him.
I don't
You
know
could trade him
that.
for no, the names are silly because it's like a lot of weird tight ends like Ben Sinnott
Oh,
or
gotcha.
Dalton Schultz.
Mm.
But like it's really strange. Uh-oh, there she goes. Um, it's really strange to read the running back names because it's Zach Moss, then Aaron Jones, and then
Mm.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I saw how low they are.
And it's like, well, and then James Conner is right behind him, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like depends on your team build completely. This is like dealer's choice range,
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I'd rather have him than Jerry Judy, I think, than Pratt Fryermuth, probably.
Okay.
I don't know.
Pat Fryermuth is
So
a big one, actually.
yeah, they're right next to each other there.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
I think I'd rather have Pat probably, but I am a little higher on him than some. But I do, yeah, Chase Brown makes a lot of sense, and he was a surprise. That one game he came
Yeah,
out and really, really looked awesome.
surprise me.
I am well. First, I think to not seem silly and stupid, we should mention Puka was definitely a surprise.
Oh, dude,
Um,
yeah. I mean, billboard shit right here.
yeah, but it's kind of kind of the obvious take there, so can't really hit that. But I will talk about another fifth round wide receiver, rookie receiver.
Uh-huh.
That was a weird way to say that, but who really didn't even start getting consistent playing time until about week 11. And he still ended up as the wide receiver 58, which is pretty good, not coming in super hot until week 11 and being like the fourth guy on the offense. It's Dontavian Wicks, guys.
Of
He looked
course.
great, man. Like he came in, the route running is really, really smooth, and he has absolutely earned some playing time for the Green Bay Packers. And the only downside to Wicks is the downside to all the Packers receivers. I don't think that's going to be a consistency hot zone for you in fantasy, any of those receivers. I just think they're going to spread the ball around too much. But I do think that there is a chance that like Dontavian Wicks comes in here and is a little more valuable than people are thinking he's going to be. He looked really clean. He fits kind of a a role that they need him to. Him and Dobbs kind of have that same similar type. And so like he's gonna be fighting with him, but like he kind of blew up towards the end of the year there, and then like in the playoffs specifically, kind of put the hammer on Dallas for us. So I think there is a chance where Wicks gets a lot more playing time than people are expecting because he surprised me, man. You don't expect fifth round rookies to work out a lot, and especially he was the third wide receiver we took or second wide receiver we took. Definitely at least the second. And so yeah, but he was really surprising to me. I thought he looked great.
Yeah, yeah. You guys did take three wide receivers, huh? You took Grant, Dubose.
DeBose, that was it. He was seventh,
Yeah.
huh? So Wicks
hmm
was the second wide receiver then, yeah.
hmm Yeah, fun fact, Wicks and Nakua, only fifth round wide receivers to get any play time last year.
Hmm.
So maybe the fifth round is where we should be looking,
Maybe.
you know?
But that's what I'm saying. Like had Puka not been Puka, obviously. Like Wicks would be way more on people's radar as a fifth round receiver because he had like a good rookie year. And like you're saying, nobody in the fifth round even got playing time. So like
hmm
for him to have done that now, he was on a young team where they had some holes, like kind of circumstantial stuff there too. But like he had a good year and earned his way onto the NFL as a fifth rounder. Like that's impressive. It makes it look less impressive because Puka just set all these records as a fifth round receiver, but it's still impressive that he was able to earn that time so quickly.
That's true. And then King of the sixth round, Demario Douglas was almost on the surprising list. So
Yeah, yeah, he probably should have been.
yeah, he was on my list, but I had to do more running backs. So Chase Brown. got
Gotcha.
elected. But
Well, you want to round out the episode with some disappointments?
oh yeah, yes, sir. I'm going with Jalen Hyatt.
Okay.
Okay, so I know, I get it. Yeah, he was like the first pick of the third round in
Hmm.
our for the belt draft. He was not heavily drafted in the NFL. He was a third round draft pick. He's going off of the keep trade cut, a wide receiver 78. So just
Mm.
so everyone knows where he's at. But yeah, this guy coming fresh off the Bolitnikoff Award. I was like, man, maybe he gets some traction, you know. He's maybe he was the guy that like we were all sleeping on, and we're gonna be embarrassed that we didn't pick him up when his value was so low, you know, the Xavier Leggett of his time. And here he goes as wide receiver 98 on the year. Like
Mm.
that's bad. That's like they shouldn't count. They shouldn't
Yeah.
count that
You should
high.
cap it.
Exactly. So I'm like, man, I want to be sad about him, but who am I hating on? Who am I hating on here? Because this New York Giants team, seventh lowest in attempts,
Mm.
second in receiving yards, second lowest, and then fifth lowest in receiving touchdowns with 15. So Hyatt is over here. He only got 40 targets. You
Hmm.
can't, like, no one can do anything. No one can succeed on 40 targets. It's not
Hmm.
possible. So I don't know. It for me, I was disappointed in how his year went. We all knew what he was, like a straight line burner,
Hmm.
with a lot of ability to get open downfield. And then when you dive into the numbers, he had an average depth of target of over 20 yards, you know, the highest of all these rookies. He was 16.2 yards per catch. So I think he showed to be exactly what we were expecting him to be. I don't think I can blame him, man. And I know I was disappointed in his rookie year, but you get neighbors in there doing the dirty work, and all Hyatt has to do is step up enough to push Darius Slayton down the depth chart a little
Hmm.
bit. And I think we're looking at like Daniel Jones has had this weird, inconsistent, like sexy deep ball that he pops out like
Hmm.
only on Thursday night football against the Patriots or something like that. So I think I don't know, man. I was disappointed, but I'm not out. I'm not out on him.
That's
So
fair.
Jalen Hyatt, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take neighbors, but like other than that, I don't want much to do with the Giants offense, maybe their running game, but it's the Daniel Jones factor to me. I don't think he can
No,
sustain
no, he
two
sucks.
wide receivers that
Not even
are like
one.
fantasy relevant. Exactly. So I think neighbors' talent will kind of help him be
Hmm.
relevant still. But there is a chance that Daniel Jones is gone after the end of this year too. I haven't seen the contract or anything like that, but like they may choose to move on. And so, like, if somebody else comes in there, then yeah, it's the Hyatt has like talent. I mean, he is a one-trick pony, but I mean, that doesn't mean that trick can't be useful. So,
Right.
I did, yeah, it was disappointing to kind of see him not really go anywhere. He wasn't really a guy I was super into, so I wouldn't say that I was maybe disappointed was the
Well,
wrong word for me, but
Bolitnikoff, dude, come on.
that's true. He didn't do as well as he should have for sure, but
This is the worst
um.
Bolitnikoff winner since James Washington.
Oh no.
Yeah,
That's pretty bad.
that's bad.
That's pretty bad. Um I what's the tight end award? The
The
John
John
Mackey?
Mackey,
The John
yeah.
Mackey? Did Michael Mayer win the John Mackey?
No,
No, because of Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers won two
3
out of
years.
3 years, and the year he didn't, it was because Trey McBride won it.
Trey McBride,
So that
gotcha.
would have been like all of Michael Mayer's college years.
Well, then maybe we should have seen the writing on the wall because Michael Mayer was a huge disappointment in his rookie
Ooh,
season. And then that disappointment got compounded with this NFL draft. And I don't want to hear how many multiple tight end sets the Raiders are going to run and how it's better for Michael Mayer that Bowers is there because he can
no,
take some of the
doesn't
pressure.
work like that.
Bullshit. Bullshit. That's not Michael Mayer's done as a fantasy relevant tight end. He is done unless he leaves Oakland or Vegas or whatever. And it's sad because he's a good player, but he doesn't have the upside of Bowers. He doesn't have nearly the upside of Bowers, but I liked him as like a consistent, like almost like a Pat Fryermuth type guy, and now that value is just completely dead. I wouldn't buy the multiple tight end set thing on a good offense. Now you're telling me to buy the multiple tight end set thing when we're talking about Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as his quarterback.
The multiple QB set.
No, I'm good. Like the Raiders' offense is probably not going to be that great this year, and I don't want the backup tight end on a not great offense. So, as much as it pains me because I did like Michael Mayer and Notre Dame, I'm even living in Indiana again. I loved Notre Dame growing up. So like that
Rudy.
sucks, but yeah, it was disappointing and I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon for Michael Mayer.
Yeah, this guy, I mean, he got the short end of the stick, man.
Mhm.
Like he was definitely an awesome tight end at the
Mhm.
college level.
Yeah.
Seemed pro ready-ish.
Mhm.
I went to a garbage team there at the Raiders. They're okay. Maybe one day they'll get out of the dumpster, but not today. Um, yeah, I think his best bet is getting traded. Like someone's
Yeah.
gonna want to maybe it happens. Who knows? I don't know. I can't predict these things, but man, he got deuced on.
Mhm.
Disappointing year and a disappointing follow-up draft. I can't even imagine what it's like. Yeah, he only had 300 yards. That's pretty sad.
That's
Um,
bad.
yeah, it is. I mean, did he have the possibly the saddest rookie year of all the skill position guys? I don't
Uh,
know. It could
Probably
be,
not.
no.
Maybe.
I think I was a little
Probably.
disappointed with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
doing here?
That's fair.
Yeah, but somehow is still being valued at the quarterback 20,
Hmm.
which I find to be interesting. But I guess, what are you going to do? Guy got sacked 65 times,
Hmm.
second most. His attempts, yards per attempt were 5.5, which was the worst in the league. Like that's abysmal. And yeah, he had like 10% of his passes were throwaways, about 50% of his dropbacks had pressure. Like the guy was put in the worst possible situation to succeed. And I just think that he's going to have to rebound. It's going to be a
Hmm.
pretty easy layup if that is his floor, because you bring in a couple of new guards in free agency, getting that O line up, and then Dave Canales,
Hmm.
so this guy, he's the snake
QB
charmer when it
guru.
comes to
Yep.
these quarterbacks. So he's a savant. And you know who else is a quarterback savant? Deontay Johnson, man, he
Hmm.
is the scrub quarterback enhancer. So I don't know. They threw everything, including the kitchen sink at the skill position group in the draft. We
Hmm.
got Leggett, which still loving every one of his interviews. And then Jonathan Brooks, of course,
Yeah.
and
Jatavian Sanders.
exactly Sanders in there. So I think that, yeah, I don't know. He was really good in Alabama, like, good game commander, pocket quarterback. I think if they can get him comfortable, it could be pretty good. I was very surprised he was a quarterback 23 last year.
Hmm.
So calling him the quarterback 20, in the dynasty rankings, it's kind of like, that,
I
it's not a
yeah.
stretch.
I,
I think
I
it's
don't
nice.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch at all. He was set up to fail kind of last year. A bad offensive line and an offense that I kept saying all season needed juice, and that's what they
Mhm.
juiced it. They juiced it up. I don't know that it's gonna
It
work.
was like a whole flip, dude. They
Yeah,
flipped it.
they saw that and addressed it, which, like that's all you can do. You got to hope you pick the right players and you got to hope it all works. But
Mhm.
like they did what they're supposed to do. You see a problem, you take care of it. You bring in Deontay to become the number one guy and the consistent guy. Leggett takes the top off the defense and then is your power play or your deep play guy or whatever. Then Jonathan Brooks should steady that offense and at least give Bryce Young some breathing room. And I think Bryce Young kind of showed that like he was the guy that we thought he was when given the time. Like he was accurate. His ceiling is what it is. He's probably a QB 15, maybe. It would be like his max ceiling ever. And that's okay. He's a distributor and that's fine. But we saw him do that. It's not like he lost all of that ability. He just had
Mhm.
nothing helping him. Now, if he comes out this year and looks lost or whatever, then maybe it's time to be out on him.
Too
But
short.
he's too short. He can't see. But I don't think it's time yet. And I think he could. But he did have a disappointing rookie year. That is to be sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
All
there's
right.
no way this offense isn't a little more vibrant this year.
Oh
So
yeah,
that'd be
it's got to
sweet.
be. They're going to be a lot more interesting to watch just from a pure talent perspective. Like there's just way more talent on the field for them. Um, my last guy is a wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks, Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then
Uh,
so he had a disappointing rookie year, and I kind of just kept attributing it to like, well, he was the third guy there. Like Lockett's there, DK, like they don't throw that much anyway. It's Pete Carroll. So like it was time to work him in. But he did get 93 targets
yeah,
last season. So it's not like he didn't get like a pretty substantial amount of targets. And he ended up was what, oh, I pulled him off of my screen. It was like the what, 48 wide receiver, 48 or something.
yeah,
Um,
around there.
yeah, something like that. And it's like it's disappointing. I think there's still upside there, and I'd be willing to buy the dip, although there's not really that much of a dip in his value
No,
compared to where he went down. So you can't really buy the dip on him, but it was a disappointment. I do see him getting better. I do kind of see him taking over the number two role and like and maybe getting more targets more often than kind of heating up towards the end of the year. But it's just, I mean, he just didn't have that great of a rookie year, all things considered, for a guy that was arguably the number one wide receiver coming out of the draft last year.
yeah, he was supposed to be the hot sauce, man. He
Hmm.
was supposed to be the one, the next in a long line with the, Olave and Garrett Wilson and
Hmm.
now, but this guy was actually the good guy,
Yeah.
and that was tough, dude. I mean, I never bought it because he did have those guys propping him up at Ohio State, and then he like missed an entire year with
Hmm.
injury, and it's like, oh, so this is completely just like hope casting, wish casting, as the
Hmm.
kids say. So, and then yeah, of course he mounts like a comeback at the end of the year and makes me think that Tyler Lockett caught that touchdown at the end of that game to put me over the Davy in the
Hmm.
playoffs, but then it turned out to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. So yes, we vote against you. Yes, we would like you to fail. And yes, we think it's absurd that you're the keep trade cat wide receiver 24. It's disgusting, my friend. Get
Yeah,
out.
that's tough.
Get out of here. I don't know. I don't think if Lockett was going to be replaced, they would have salvaged some value and traded him. I
That's
think
fair.
that they're going to ride that. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's going to be unfortunate if that it keeps up for Jackson Smith and Jigba, but that does wrap us
vendetta.
up on the second year, guys. So I think next week, unless I'm mistaken, we're going to do some IDP stuff again,
Yeah,
breaking
we're
back into that
certainly
range.
we're gonna try.
I think, well, we're going to probably need to talk more structure on that episode, so I won't spoil exactly what we're talking about next week, but be prepared to talk some defensive players with us next week. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
We most certainly will see you next time. Have a good night, everybody.
I took a lease out on your heart.